Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to some cruise news. And I've got several different cruise news stories for you today. And today I've got some new cruise ship news. I've got a story of two ships that almost collided with each other. We have some tragic, unfortunate cruise news, and of course, we have some Vista class engine trouble. So let's get into all of today's stories. Now, first up, we're going to talk about some new cruise ships coming, joining the cruising world. And if you don't know, right now, Disney is doing their big D23 Expo. That's where they talk about everything new coming out, whether it's new attractions in the theme parks, new movies, new shows, and of course, new things coming to Disney Cruise Lines. And they have announced they are adding 4 more new cruise ships to their fleet. Now, at this point, we don't know if they're going to be a new class of fleet, what their attractions are going to be, what their designs are going to be, what's going to be on board them. All we know is they are adding 4 new ships. They're going to be arriving between 2027 and 2031, and that will bring Disney's fleet up to a total of 13 cruise ships once it's all said and done. So it does look like Disney wants to become an even bigger player in the cruising world, building more cruise ships, giving Disney fans more opportunities to cruise on board their new favorite Disney cruise ships. Next up, we have a story of a narrowly avoided collision between 2 ships out in the Ionian Sea. So we have the Nidri Star 1 carrying approximately 480 passengers was out doing a routine cruise to the Ionian Islands when they had a near collision with a mega private yacht. Now, I'm going to show you a couple little video clips, shows the mega yacht appearing to head directly for them, not slowing down, not trying to attempt to change course. You can hear the passengers on board yelling at them to stop, to move, to change course, to do something to avoid the collision. And it's just a real short video, but you can see how close these 2 ships almost came to each other. All right, so you can see they got very, very close to each other. Now, the private yacht is a converted Royal Navy vessel. It was an old British Navy vessel. Show you guys a picture of that one here. It's a big size ship, especially when you compare it here to the Nidri Star 1. And you can see it is just packed full of people on board. Had this collision actually occurred, it could have been an extremely tragic event with all of these people involved. And believe me, there's going to be an investigation. There's going to be questions on maritime safety. Who was right? Who was wrong? And how did such a situation get this far that these 2 ships almost collided? Next up, we have tragedy on the high seas. We have 3 different individuals going overboard from 3 different cruise ships just here in the last couple of days. On Friday, August the 9th, off of Royal Caribbean's Explorer of the Seas, they did have a passenger go overboard in the Adriatic Sea. A guest went overboard on the Norwegian Spirit while sailing off the coast of Taiwan. And a crew member went overboard from the Carnival Dream while sailing from Cozumel, Mexico, headed back to home port in Galveston, Texas. In all 3 cases, search and rescue operations, of course, went into effect. The cruise ship stops. They begin to look for people that have gone overboard. However, none of these stories have good news. None of these stories end happily. Only the passenger that jumped from Norwegian Cruise Lines, the body was recovered, and the other 2 have not been located. And our thoughts and our prayers go out to family members and friends of those involved with these individuals. And finally, once again, we have engine trouble on board the Carnival Vista. And this is not the first time the Carnival Vista's had engine trouble. She's had engine trouble in 2018. She had engine problems in 2019. She had engine problems in 2022. And here we are again, engine problems in 2024. Now, for the other 2 ships in the Vista class, the Carnival Horizon and the Carnival Panorama, well, we've seen engine trouble from both of those ships multiple times as well. Kind of makes you ask the question, is there some type of flaw some type of issue in the Vista class design. And while Carnival will probably never come out and say that it's some type of issue with the ship, whether it is or isn't, they did have to let passengers know who sailed yesterday on their 8-night southern itinerary cruise. Well, due to the fact the ship was having propulsion problems, due to the fact she could not maintain speeds, their entire itinerary was going to have to be redone. Now, originally they were supposed to sail to Aruba, to Curacao, and to Grand Turk. One of your not so typical cruise itineraries. You know, one of those nice southern cruise itineraries that takes you out of the Bahama region when you are sailing from Florida. But due to these engine problems, all of those itinerary stops are gone, and instead now they are going to Nassau, Princess Key, Freeport, and Half Moon Key. So they're just going out, circling around there in the Bahamas. Kind of a huge itinerary change between those two. Now, the cruise line's notification to the passengers, well, it was definitely last minute because they weren't told until they boarded the cruise ship. Okay, so they'd already traveled from every place they were coming from across the United States and other countries, made their way to Florida, embarked on board the cruise ship, and then found out, hey, we're not going where we thought we were going to go. We're going over here to the Bahamas instead. Now, Carnival is offering some options and some compensation. If you choose to stay on board and sail the new itinerary, you get $400 of onboard credit per stateroom. Passengers also had the option to disembark the ship, receive a 100% future cruise credit, and of course a refund for any shore excursions, drink packages, or internet packages that were purchased on board. Now, not all guests are happy about these itinerary changes. A lot of them specifically booked this cruise for the Southern Caribbean. That's where they wanted to go. They wanted to go to Aruba. They wanted to go to Curacao. They did not want to go to Nassau. They did not want to go to Freeport. So it is understandably that they could be upset over this itinerary change. Now, of course, we all know cruise contract says itinerary changes can happen. It's a mechanical issue. They definitely can happen and it will affect cruises. But it is a pretty drastic change, and there is also the question of the amount of compensation, $400 per stateroom. However, the price difference between a Southern Caribbean cruise and a Bahamas cruise sometimes can be quite different, and the onboard credit really doesn't, compensate for the price difference between the two different types of cruises. And of course, there are guests that are upset over the timing. Would it have been possible for Carnival to notify them sooner? Did they have to wait until they'd already embarked on the cruise ship to notify them of the change? And these are all valid questions. These are all valid concerns. We'll have to wait and see, is Carnival Cruise Line going to address any of these concerns? Now, of course, there's the whole other side of the coin, too. Not every guest is upset. Not every guest is bothered. There are plenty of guests that were, well, they're just happy to be out there cruising, and they will enjoy the cruise, the vacation, and what's put in front of them, no matter what happens. So that brings up the question, how would you feel if you were on this cruise ship? Would you be upset that you've gone from Southern Caribbean to the Bahamas? Do you feel that $400 is the appropriate amount of compensation for the price difference between those cruises? Or are you just happy to be out there cruising? All right, and that is going to be our video for today. If you've enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.